Welcome back to Fluvoxamine Frontiers, Battling COVID-19, where we are uncovering the remarkable role of fluvoxamine in the fight against a global pandemic. I'm your host, Dr. Soma Rohatgi, and I'm joined again by our brilliant guest, Saakshi Sharma, who has a gift for bringing science to life. We have explored fluvoxamine's mechanisms and clinical trials so far, but today we are turning to the heart of the story, the patients. What's like to take fluvoxamine for COVID-19 and how does it change lives? Let's set the stage with a simple analogy. Picture COVID-19 as a spark that could ignite a wildfire in the body. Catch that spark early and you might stop the blaze before it engulfs everything. Fluvoxamine, when used early, acts like a burst of rain, dousing that spark to prevent a raging fire. But what do real patient experience tells us about this rain's impact? Let's dive straight in. Sakshi, let's start with the human side today. What do patient stories from clinical trials, excluding the Together trial, tell us about fluvoxamine's real world impact in treating COVID 19?
Thanks, Dr. Soma. And that spark analogy really captures the stakes here. Patient stories from trials like the Stop COVID trial conducted by Washington University in 2020 gives us a window into fluvoxamine's impact. In this early study, involving 152 outpatients, patients on fluvoxamine reported feeling less overwhelmed by symptoms like fever or shortness of breath within days of starting treatment. One patient, a 50-year-old with hypertension, shared how their fatigue lifted by day 5, allowing them to avoid the hospital. Another small trial, the Golden Gate study in 2021, focused on high-risk patients and found similar patterns. Those on fluvoxamine were less likely to progress to severe illness, with many describing a sense of relief as symptoms stabilized. These stories highlight how fluvoxamine can turn a frightening diagnosis into a manageable recovery, keeping patients at home and out of overwhelmed healthcare systems.
These stories which you mentioned, like the Stop COVID and the Golden Gate study, these are so powerful. Real people feeling that spark of hope. You have mentioned early treatment in these trials, Sakshi. Just how critical is timing in fluvoxamine's effectiveness for COVID 19 patients?
Timing is absolutely crucial, Dr. Soma. Fluvoxamine shines when it's given early, ideally within the first 5 to 7 days of symptoms, before the inflammatory spark you mentioned becomes a wildfire. In the Stop COVID trial, for example, patients who started fluvoxamine within 7 days of symptoms onset showed no progression to severe disease compared to 8% in the placebo group. The reason lies in fluvoxamine's mechanism. Its sigma-1 receptor activity helps calm the immune system's early overreaction, preventing cytokine storms or clotting issues. If treatment starts too late, let's say after 10 days, when lung damage or organ stress has set in, the drug's ability to intervene is reduced because the fire is already spread. Early intervention, as seen in these trials, is like dousing that spark before it engulfs the forest, giving the body a chance to recover without complications.
That's such a clear picture. Act fast and you stop the blaze. But getting fluvoxamine to patients in time isn't always straightforward. What challenges do patients face in accessing fluvoxamine for COVID 19 treatment based on experiences outside the Together trial?
You're so right. Access is definitely a big hurdle. One major challenge is awareness. In trials like Stop COVID, patients benefited because researchers and clinicians were informed, but in the real world, many doctors and patients don't know fluvoxamine's potential for COVID-19 since it's primarily a psychiatric drug. This leads to delays or reluctance to prescribe it. Another issue is diagnostics. Early treatment requires a quick COVID-19 diagnosis, but testing excess but testing excess varies widely, especially in rural or undeserved areas as seen in some outpatient studies. Off-label use is another barrier. Fluvoxamine isn't FDA approved for COVID-19, so some clinicians hesitate and patients may feel uneasy about taking an SSRI as reported in the Golden Gate study where a few dropped out due to stigma. Cost and availability also pose problems. While fluvoxamine is affordable, it's not always stocked or covered for this use. Side effects like nausea, noted in some trial participants, can also discourage adherence. Overcoming all these problems requires better education, faster testing, and policy changes to support off-label prescribing.
So it seems like it's all about getting that rain to the spark before it's too late, despite all these obstacles. Fluvoxamine is the timely rain that douses a spark, saving homes before the fire of COVID 19 spreads. Through these patient stories, we see it quenching early flames, keeping people out of hospitals and restoring hope, but only if it arrives swiftly enough to make a difference. Thank you, Saakshi, for bringing these patient experiences to life. Listeners, keep exploring with us on Fluvoxamine Frontiers. Science is full of stories waiting to inspire.